April the 24th, 2024. Guys, it's been a hell of a year so far. We're just into the fourth month. We've got elections this year. You saw from the video this morning that not just the U.S., but the entire political world is in complete chaos right now, both either between libtards or warmongers or all of the above. It's pretty bad. Now, one thing that we've got to get through this summer is watch out for what was the video this morning was about, the complete takeover. But the other thing that I've been watching it, and I mentioned this about a month ago, and we talked about it here, guys, what a horrible summer for a lot of people it was last year. One of the hottest on records. I never have remembered one that was that hot. Now, and so as we're seeing the climate change as it does, and it has for millions of years, then we're seeing some of these effects, whether you want to say it's man-made or just the cycles of time going through and the different seasons changing, or a combination of all. Regardless, we have to deal with it, and this is a real thing, and it was devastating last year, guys. What you're looking at is a daily sea surface temperature chart of the North Atlantic. In the video last month, we talked about the effect that the El Nino was going to be shifting to La Nina, and that would bring the trade winds coming from Africa. They would be stronger. The Atlantic is already very warm, and we wouldn't have the wind shear coming out of the Pacific Ocean like we do during the El Nino years. What this chart, guys, if you can see it, you have a black line that comes right now into almost the end of the April, and that's where we are at now. The gold line was last year, okay? And it was very warm. You can see how far above average it was. All of these other lines go back to 1981 up until 2022. Now, 2024 here, it's already hotter in the Pacific than it has been for any year going back through all of this time. Again, 2023 in the gold, 2024 in the black here. So last year was hotter. This year the Atlantic is hotter. What is that going to mean? Of course, the possibility of more storms, and maybe the storms in themselves will they will take some of the heat off the planet. You take all of this warm ocean water and the water that's very close to shore during these storms in the Gulf of Mexico, regardless of what ocean it is, that wind or that hot, humid air is taken up very high and cooled. It's nature's way, God's way of keeping the planet from overheating. And also, we may not have the influence of a much hotter Pacific coming across from California and coming across the nation. But we got to watch for it, because the timing of when we switch from the El Nino to La Nina, or La Nina, is going to be critical, because it would be good if it changed before it got deep into the heat of the summer, so we won't have that heat build up. But guys, we're going to have to watch it, because again, the timing is important, and we are looking at possibly a very powerful hurricane season coming. Now, these are the possibilities for April of 2024. That's where we're at now. This was updated on the 11th of this month. The red indicates El Nino, and the blue La Nina, cooler water, okay? And so if you look at the months, is basically what we're dealing with here. March, April, May, June, July, so forth. So right in here, we're going from the red, which is El Nino, what we've been having for last summer, into the blue, which is La Nina, the changing of the patterns, and that affects everything, drought, the rain patterns, and it can create a lot of heat in itself too, because of the warmer waters, again, of the Atlantic and of the Gulf of Mexico. We're just hoping, that we get a balance this year between all of it, kind of going back to where you get that cooling from the big storms, and you don't have that build up. Remember that high pressured zone, guys, that set over the central U.S. all the way down into Florida last year? It was miserable. It was terrible. Anyway, if you look, going from in the April, May, June, in the May, June, July area, right in here. So sometimes between now and in May, we should be switching out of the neutral into the La Nina, and that's going to continue on through November, December, and January. Hurricane season goes to November the 30th. So it looks like from all of these models, it's getting ready to change. Now, this is part of the NOAA Coral Reef Watch, and this is from April the 15th, 2024. Guys, just going back a little bit. Here's the U.S. Notice your anomalies here. If it's blue, it's colder than normal. If it's orange, going up into the red, it's warmer than normal. And so this is the section that we see the El Nino come in this warmer Pacific area, but it's cooler. But look what's coming off the African coast. Much warmer water here. It's cooler as you get further north, but this is going to be changing. But we definitely have a big difference in the temperature between here and here now. That means that we're going to see an early hurricane season, more than likely. We've had 2 or 3 years now that we started, instead of waiting for June 1st, we started to see these storms start popping up in May. And again, you can see it's much warmer. Now, these are the current temperatures as of 2 p.m. this afternoon. You can see the warmer water, the hotter it is, the redder and dark red here going into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico. And notice along the Gulf Stream, this is where it comes out of the Gulf and up along the East Coast. That's very warm also already. But your highest temps, guys, 84 in the Caribbean in this area, going back across towards Africa. Now, 2023 was one of the most active storm seasons on record. Most of them stayed in the Atlantic. There was a total of 20 storms. The average is 14. Hurricanes, there were 7. That's the average. Category 3 plus, there were 3. And that's the average also. The El Nino conditions helped boost above average Atlantic Ocean temps. Now, let's look at the path of where all of these storms went. And my thinking on this is going to change. This pattern coming close to the east coast of the U.S. and then moving into the North Atlantic. Now, we had this one major storm, guys, that was at Idalia right here that came up and moved across Florida and up and through Georgia and South Carolina. That was a rough one. But look at all of the storms, starting with Katia, Margot, Philippe, Rennie, Emily, on and on. Only one that was dangerous as far as powerful, I think it came in, a 4 or 5 by the time it hit, was Idalia. Ophelia came in here into North Carolina, and there was a lot of flooding. But what was happening? You're seeing El Nino pushing everything from the west to the east, this direction. That's going to be ending. And normally, all of these storms, they're coming from Africa, and they have to fight this, and it turns them up. They're not going to have to do that this year, not after this changing of the seasons, going from El Nino to La Nina. And so that's maybe what we're going to see right there, is the changing in the turning of these storms. And it was Idalia, guys. It came in, they're saying, as a 4 right here, turned into a 3 as it came ashore. It was very devastating. We were seeing 7 to 11 feet storm surge. Again, out of 20 storms, this was the main one as far as powerful in the categories that hit the mainland. And again, come up and through the Gulf of Mexico. The whole time, these storms, even Idalia, was fighting, having to see how it's being pushed back north and northeast here. So with that changing, we're going to have to watch for storms coming out of the Caribbean, guys. It's going to be headed for Houston, New Orleans, all of the above, not being turned out. That's going to be something we're going to have to watch for. I'm just hoping, again, that the storms are not too bad, but we do get the cooling effect. And that the problem with the superheated air basically coming from the Pacific last year, that's going to be changing. You saw the temperatures are already lower than normal. But I just wanted to come in here and touch base with you. Be prepared for this. All you got to do is think back to last July and August and the temperatures. And we had 2 power outages during that time. The temperatures were terrible. Prepare now, guys. Back up some solar, with some solar panels for maybe some of your window units, things like that, depending on how much solar power you have. But be prepared. This thing could get very rough. Not only could storms and the heat take it out, but what did Christopher Wray tell us? More and more attacks are coming on our infrastructure. We're seeing it spread worldwide now. Again, it's going to be a hell of a summer. We got to make it through it, and this is one of the things we're going to have to watch for. And at least none of the storms are named Brandon. It's a heads up, guys. Be safe.